This is Greg Canty here, and welcome to the Win Happy podcast. Stay tuned for interesting chats with interesting people about winning their lives and being happy at the same time. This show has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. Thanks for listening. On today's podcast, I chat with Peter Nuhn, a specialist workplace consultant for over 30 years. Peter, who comes from the oldest town in Germany, spends his time sorting out problems in companies that are caused by friction between people. He calls a special formula for success, powered by responsibility. He looks for people who are willing to take responsibility, and then he ensures that they are equipped sufficiently with the power to deliver on this. Let's hear from Peter. Peter Nuhn, a huge welcome to the Win Happy podcast. How are you keeping?
Very fine, Greg. Thank you for your invitation and for having me here.
And you're coming to me all the way from the oldest city in Germany, I believe.
Yeah, this is Trier, which is the oldest city in Germany. And I always tell it was in earlier times very important for the Romans, for Chinese people, because of Karl Marx is born here, etc., etc. It's a small place, 100,000 people living here, but it's quite interesting, and we are in the middle of Europe.
So two famous people have come from that town, Karl Marx and you.
Okay.
You'll take it.
That's very kind of you, but I think Karl Marx is a little bit more important than me.
Fair enough. Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Both of us had a conversation on a very interesting networking platform called Lunch Club. And I really enjoyed the conversation, and I thought what you were doing and your description of what you're doing was very interesting. And I think it would be of huge benefit to the listeners. And obviously you're on the Win Happy podcast. And let's face it, a big part of all of our lives is our work.
Yeah.
And you're in the middle in many organizations trying to make them better, happier places for both the owners and the teams that work there. So I'm really, really interested in learning more about your process and the challenges and how things may have changed over the years. You're the owner of the company called X Focus. And according to LinkedIn, unless LinkedIn is lying to me, you've been the owner for 31 years.
Yeah.
So you're doing this for more than a day or two, let's put it that way.
Yes. I started during my studying here in Trier. I came to Trier for studying economics at the university because I was always really fascinated of people working together and how is this working and what's the mystery of all of that. And so I came here, and during my studies, I decided this is so interesting. I have to do something with that, and founded my first student consulting agency. And from that on, it was always the center of my life to learn more, to try my best to understand how is this working together between the people. And so my company, that X Focus is, I decided that the X factor, which is a small little man sign, is always the middle of everything. And we have to find a way to focus us all on a common value, on a common goal. So this is what I do in my business for now, really 30 years.
Yeah, because personally speaking, I have experience of working in our own business, but working in different companies. I was the general manager of a company with about 65 employees. It was a Guinness-owned company. And I went to work for Guinness, and you can imagine that's a giant of a company with so many employees and everything else. And you see firsthand the challenge of keeping that company and all of its activities very focused, keeping the teams motivated, keeping the company in the right direction, and all of the processes that go into all of that. So I'm so interested in this conversation. Before we jump in, I'd like the listener to get to know you a little bit. So they understand why Peter started this business and what was itching away at your head and where that idea came from. So I'll ask you a simple question. Who the hell are you and where did you come from?
Okay. First of all, I'm the son of an entrepreneur like these guys were in the elder times, and I really grew up in a company. I can say that because of when I was 12 years old, I started working in that company every day. At the evening, I go to my father, and I see there all the people working as electricians and people at the office. And indeed, I can remember that I started. That was fascinating. How is this working? All that stuff with the money, and so this is what I was fascinating my whole life. I had some different positions. That was in Worms, near to Frankfurt, which is the second oldest city of Germany.
Fair enough. And tell me, growing up in an entrepreneurial family
Yeah.
is quite a different thing, isn't it?
It is, especially if you learn at the age of 15 years that everything what your father told you is not fully the truth because of he's getting ill and he came never back. He never get really healthy. He could no longer speak and he lived for a longer time. And then I had the chance to ask everything that I had learned. Is this the truth? Is it really the truth? Again, my father was a great man, but some things he told me I realized are not quite that true as I thought when I was a child. And I think today this was my chance to ask questions.
Okay. And in your home,
Yeah.
were you quite aware that it was a business house? Would the conversations happen when your dad would come home from work? Did you hear entrepreneurial conversations? Did he speak about the challenges? And like a question I ask a lot of people is, what were the conversations at the kitchen table?
It was indeed, it was very special. Again, I started with 12 years to work in that company, to arrange some things, to clean up something. And after I did my work, I sit at the office table of my father, not at the kitchen table. And we had no discussions, but he had monologues. He speaks with himself about the day or something like that, and I was listening. At the beginning, I was only listening, but he told me a lot of things. I will ever remember that he had a young guy who was working for him and was a very clever guy and was very good working, and he set him on the position as a service technician, but this is in the early 80s, and this guy is colored. And he had a lot of things, how complicated this is. Why is this so complicated? Where's the problem? It's one of my best guys. He did a good job, etc., etc. And in that manner, I learned a lot of stuff from my father. It was not a discussion again, but I heard that, and I'm getting more and more interesting. And I learned one of my most important lessons was my father found himself very responsible for the people that were working for him. I think we came back to this later.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
this is one of my how different it was for him to handle these problems with the people, and what can he do that his people are doing well, and so this is really important for me, and this changed my life. It did, yeah.
yeah. And at that time, maybe it's a little bit like here, but back in those days when you took a job, in so many cases, that's where you worked for your life. Would that have been the case in your father's business? And is that where that responsibility thing would have kicked in, that you're nearly responsible for people's livelihoods, that money that's going into, that's going onto their kitchen table every single day?
It's there's only one simple answer to that question. We were six children, and I had an older brother, and he was for clear the next big boss in the company. And so I could do again, today I would say it was an advantage for me. I could do whatever I want because this was the position of my brother, and I was never intended to go to in that path.
Okay. What became of the company in the end?
It's difficult when my father get ill. My older sister, she was old enough and had already a study. He took over the company. Even my brother came back for a very short period to that company, but my older sister overtook and she sold the company. There's still our name on the wall, but it has nothing to do with with what my father did. Thought and for this is for me a little bit hard here.
Was that a huge shock for you in your life at that time when he passed away?
Um, I've lost my first father when he's getting sick because it was a
Okay.
brain attack, and he could no longer speak, and he could not walk and talk, and so this was, and I was 15 years old, and on that point I lost my old father, but I had the chance to make my peace with him, and that was very good. And he died more than 25 years after that event when I grew older, and so I did my way. It's okay for me today. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Again, I must say, talk to your children, even if they are small and you think they could not understand. They do understand. You can feel, even as a child, you feel this is a hard time for my father. What's going on here? Where's the problem? And after a longer time, you realize what's going on up there.
So you're in the classroom, and for whatever reason, the teacher has lost all of your attention. Where does your head go? Where is the young Peter escaping to?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, I was always looking for kind of freedom. And for me, in that time, it started. Freedom was riding motorbike or on two wheels, go on two wheels. And I must say, if I lost all the concentration, which was often enough, um, it was normally to go where could I go by bike? What could I see from this little world? It was not this plan of having a world holiday or something, traveling the world. It was a smaller one. And I can say again, it was always, how is this economic game working? I can tell you, I was really I was really bad at school because today I would say with my huge problems in my private life, with my family situation, and a lot of stuff in school was for me, hey, what do you tell about problems? These are not problems. And so I could not take everything so seriously as I better should have. But anyhow, um, but again, I was always interesting. How is this people thing working? And the last thing is, again, I was bad at school, but I was always excellent in economic, in social things to learn, in stuff like history and such things.
Being great at school and being very focused when your dad is dying in front of you at that critical stage for you must have been really difficult. So, Peter, that journey from that student to founding Focus X, what happened in between?
Okay. Today I can tell you a very interesting, very special thing. After I finished school, and I decided to finish school with a possibility to go to university to study economics. But then I was, how can I say, yeah, I was full of fear because of in school, I never took school serious, but now I wanted to start something which was really important for me. And so I decided to go 2 years to the army because of today. I really know it was the question, what's going on if I could not handle this? That's something I really want to. And so I go to army and worked as at the medicine area, and I learned a lot of useful stuff. Anyhow, okay, and then I came to the university. I especially came to Trier because of one professor. It was Professor Wächter. He had a good name for union work, and that was something I really was interested in. And the next one is, in that time, the University of Trier was one of the first who had a very special approach. We did all the same at the first stage, even if we do economics for company, economics for societies, and that was a parallel. And the next one is, we had from the very beginning on a thing which was called PBSF, which means you had to do a really important part of your work as a team. Which was really interesting was you get the same degree for that. Is it the right word? A or in B or in C?
Okay, yeah. The same
And
result, yeah.
Yeah, this was really interesting because of you are 6 people and everybody get the same degree or note or how. And so.
Oh, so are you saying you work in collaboration and every member of that team gets the same grade?
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for helping me out. Yeah, that's it. And that makes it interesting because of I was very enthusiastic. I worked intense. It was interesting. And then there are other guys that, oh, come on, let's do this on a very easy way. But if you get the same grade, so funny part, I decided my first of these 2 exams, I decided to write a paper on the theme working in a group and getting the same grade for that, and which kind of results will that produce, which kind of processes. So, and really thankful for what my professor did in that time, because of this, for example, was a work where he said, hey, I'm an economic specialist. I could not handle all that stuff you bring in here with intercultural and blah blah. I don't know, but it's okay. I will visit a colleague of mine at the psychologist, and that guy will help me to find the right grade for your work. And this is what I learned here at the university. I was for me it was coming like home. Now I'm at the right place, and I could learn a lot of stuff here.
So that mix of economics and psychology,
Yeah.
that's a powerful combination. Instead of just understanding business, you understand how the wheels turn in the real world with real people.
We have some. It's hard for me to translate it. We have now here in Trier, we have specialized possibilities to study for example, for economical, social sciences and stuff like that, and they bring both worlds together more and more, psychology and economic affairs. And in my times, I was allowed by my professor to do this, and said, "Okay, you're crazy, but I can handle this." Again, it was really a privilege. He also could have said, he could say, "Hey, this is not my problem. Do it wherever you want, but not in my course." But he was very open minded. Had really fantastic possibilities to learn from him, and so I did that. And today it's becoming more and more important. Even if I have to say, what I learned at the next step during my work, you need also the economical knowledge. You need the knowledge about the hard facts. How is accounting working? How is this? And after my studying, I've learned that I had better learned more about the hardcore stuff, because to teach me that lessons by my own was really hard. But I realized, oh no, I'm not good in accounting. I'm not an accountant, but to understand what's going on in a company, you need the skills to understand that.
Yeah, you need to understand the levers, don't you?
Yeah.
And then, obviously get the team working in the right way.
The tools of the trade,
Did you work for anyone else then before you started your own business?
no. No, but I had some great people that helped me. I would say they were mentors of mine. For example, when I made my first steps, and thought, now I have understood how it works, and I tell this the other people, and they have to understand it too, and to do it the way I think it's the right. Hasn't worked. And so for example, I learned it's not only facts and figures. You have to give people a possibility to learn the skills they need, the skill set, to give them an environment where they could change their mind. And so I started to work as a trainer for communication and for leadership. I was 23 years old. It was an interesting experience, and for that I worked with an older, experienced trainer for 2 or 3 years. I was the co-trainer at the beginning, and so he taught me a lot of them.
Because I was curious, did some client get a young buck, a young Peter, 23 years of age, just out of college, who had a lot of theories, and obviously a reference point to business that would have come from your dad and the family business. But starting off, you were green, weren't you? And you've obviously learned along the way.
Yes and no. I learned a very important lessons very early, and that was only because of that way I have chosen. I'm not a consultant who tells you how you could bake better bread. You know the best way if you work in that business, how to bake the best bread, and I help you to find the resources that are already in yours. And this approach that I lived in that times is what I do today. I'm not the guy who comes into a company. This is why I work in so many different companies with so many themes and branches and stuff like that. Because I'm not that guy. I don't tell you how to sell cars better.
Okay. So, Peter, who calls you and why do they call you?
Okay. Normally, there are people working in a company for what I worked. They change company and they give me then a call and said, we had the experience, we worked together sometimes 5 years ago, and we have here a very special problem. And then I have, of course, very important is that one owner say to the other, give this Peter Nuhn a call and show him your problem. I think he can help you. And so I get calls. Normally, I'm not the guy who comes to new clients via his website or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's all referral, word of mouth based on previous work that you did. So what exactly do you do? So what's the problem that that you call Peter for?
If the work of the people is not working smoothly, there's no, hey, your podcast is the name of your podcast. If it makes no longer fun to work together in a company, then they call me. And no, I must be more precise. They call me if this no more fun is so hard for a bigger part of the company's people that the owner, the stakeholders say this will not longer work for our company. So I must say that most of the time people come if they have really a problem, not only for it could be better.
So what's your process, Peter?
Okay, how many hours do we have? No. In the last years, I'm getting more and more precise, and this is what
and maybe for the listener, maybe we'll bring that to life a little bit with a case study. No, I'm not asking you to talk about a specific client, but let's maybe paint a picture of the typical problem and they call you, and what happens from there?
Okay, I do 3 sentences about my approach, and then I give you an example. Um, in the last years, I find a formula. Let's say it's a formula, and I found out that the positive energy that is expanding if work together is working good comes from one thing, and this is what I call powered by responsibility. And this means there must be a balance between the responsibility that people are taking and the power they get. And so, to make a long story short, today I really go to companies, and we have problems here. For example, this is an example that really happens. I came to a craftsman company. They build the roofs of buildings. Okay, they are specialists, and they're all good people, and they know their job. And the owner called me because he said, I've got a huge problem. More and more of my people will not longer work with each other. And I came in his office, and there was a whiteboard with the metrics and the name of the people on one side, on the other side, and there was little smart X's. And every X means that guy is not longer willing to work with that guy.
He's a problem guy.
Yeah. A clear example, they two older, around about 40 years old guys sitting together for having breakfast. And one of them is having a piece of meat. Yeah, kind of having a piece of meat for breakfast. And then the other guy said, "Hey, you eat a lot of meat, aren't you?" No more word on that breakfast scene. At the evening, the guy with a meat in his breakfast box came to the boss and said, "I will never ever work with that stupid idiot." A new X on the whiteboard.
Okay.
A new problem for the boss, because of you have specialists, you build teams for every new challenge, for every task you have. So again, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, what can we do?" What I do first is I go really in that company and I ask the owner, "What are you responsible for?" Ah, interesting. What kind of power do you need to fulfill that responsibility? After I did that, I go downstairs normally to the people who do the work, to the middle management. I ask exactly really the same question. What are you responsible for? And even first of all, the people in the middle management, I'm not responsible for nothing. I'm not the boss here. And I said, "Hey, again, sorry, you're a little bit more than the others. You get a little bit more payment. And for what? Yeah, okay, that the work is done. And okay, I see. What kind of power do you need to fulfill?" "I have no power. I have no power." You need power and even the craftsman needs, for example, good tools to handle his work, and he needs, in my thinking, he needs the power to get these tools. For example, if the machine is broken, I think it's a good idea to allow him to give the order to fix the broken machine. This is a kind of power. And with these two questions, I start my business. And believe me or not, I can tell you this is a very efficient way that I know, after some discussions with people, I know a lot more where is the problem coming from with the meat eater and the other crazy guys. And then I start to do some, depends on the case, some trainings, some okay, as a business consultant, I can tell you, then I start to rearrange processes. I do my very special kind of organigrams, in which for every position is given which responsibility is on that position and which kind of power do you need to fulfill that position. And that brings a process. And the most important part today, I know, is it brings the discussions about that. especially in the last, I would say, 10 years, it's becoming so important to have an open discussion about both sides of your position. On one hand, yes, of course, and money is, for example, money is a kind of power. You came today and you are a very and highly experienced guy, and you came to me and today it's possible that our first discussion starts with you want to earn 1,000 euros per day. I don't know. Anyhow, you start sometimes with okay, it's okay. It's your kind of power. It's something you get from the company. But on the other hand, then I would ask you, okay, what kind of responsibility are you willing to fulfill for that? And especially this, I think the key of working together is that we share the work. Okay, I do this step, you do that step. If we build a car, very extremely complicated, complex thing, um, everybody knows what he has to do. But at the end, I have to be sure that you do your part before I do my part. And so, what is it? It's responsibility. You have to take this responsibility. And that discussion is becoming more and more important. In any case, it's more important. Point. Because of two things. One thing is the society handles less and less of these agreements about responsibility. It's becoming more and more unclear what is your responsibility.
And is that a different environment where habits have crept into the workplace where it's even a bad thing to make someone responsible for something? Is that what you're saying?
You said something very important. My approach is not to make something responsible, but to have a discussion with him about what he wants to be responsible for. In many, many cases, especially here in Germany, we had a very good system of building people's skills of the business education. Yeah. And 20 years ago, you could say, if that guy is called electrician, I know he could do different things. And he can come to me, and the first day I can make him responsible to do a special installation on a house. It was clear. That times are over. All of my clients tell me that. But again, today you have to have more discussions. Are you able to do this? Are you willing to do this? But on the other side, and this is, I don't want to talk too much about the negative aspects of this. The positive part is if we have a clear agreement how we share our work. This is your part, this is my part. You have to do this, you have to handle this, but you get the power to do this. Then there is this, for me, fascinating energy is floating. Then you can feel this wow, this is really a good thing. Even and it makes for me, I made this experience in my life. It's no difference if then you have a team of business consultants doing all a good job. They are all specialists, or you have a team of craftsmen doing a good job on building a house. It's always the same energy. And again, I came back to that. So you need these discussions. You have to become clear. And if I like it, if someone said, "Hey, sorry, right now," I had last time I had a conversation at a young guy by a client. He's young. He finished his education and he's now a fully professional. And we had, what do you think? What is possible for you to be responsible for? And I said, this and that and these kind of works I do. I love. I can do this. Where I'm a little bit not so sure if it will work is this. Hey, I know that. Okay, fine. I do understand. I can give you some new task on that part. Go on and do this. And there are others where I say, okay, you're the second guy on the place, and you can learn a little bit.
So it sounds to me like you work through the hierarchy in the business. and you carefully examine that balance between power and responsibility, and
Yeah.
you work hard then at aligning it with each person and each position and throughout the hierarchy. So those X's on the board, when you went through that process, what happened to those X's?
Okay. Normally, that are the people who called me and that have the problem. And I think on every level of the hierarchy, today the people have the same problem. There's an unbalance between them. And even a lot of power with no fulfilled responsibility brings you a problem. This is at the army. I always said you can see the power of people on his shoulders.
Yeah, which makes it very obvious and clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, but believe me, even at the army, and I will not talk about battle situation. I was never in. Yeah, okay, but even at the army, and first it's obvious, but believe me, this kind of power will never ever last for a long time. You see, this guy is weak. He is stupid, and the system. I often call about tell my clients about. There's a system. There's a net of rules in your company, and this is some mighty stuff. And the system will bring you a possibility, even as a people who's working for another guy. If you know this is stupid, you will find your ways not to do what he's willing to do. So, okay, of course, we all need this kind of power. My standard experience, if it's burning and you're a firefighter, there are no discussions about who's doing what. There's a guy, a woman, and she's telling you what you have to do. But this is for a very special situation or for a short period of time. In the long run, and this is what all managers, especially the middle management, is experiencing right now, this kind of power is not working. And how they are panicking, you can see at the corona pandemic when they have to learn in a very short period of time to lead people that are working at the home office, for example. It's quite easy to measure the time. Greg is going at 4 o'clock. I thought, oh, well, he's not good guy. Thomas is staying every day until 6 o'clock. This is my guy. And now I have to find out if your results are good enough. And I come back to my stuff. And so they have this problem. They don't like that, of course. And sometimes you need a little bit of experience working with people. It's not always easy, of course. Okay, but this is my job that I do for a longer time. And what I realize is you have quick wins, even on my approach. You see very, after the first discussion, you realize people start thinking, what? You mean I'm responsible for something here? Huh? Well, how do you mean? And they start thinking and they start, this is my approach. I also ask, there's always a fair balance. You're responsible. What do you need for that? And on every level of the hierarchy, for example, they say, I need often people on the middle management says, for example, I need more people. I need more work power to fulfill that. You order me to do a certain job, and in the same way, you cancel half of my positions I've got. I've had a guy 2 years ago. He said, "Hey, 2 years ago, I had 150 people doing the service for the whole company to maintain the machines and stuff like that. And today, I have a lot more to do, and I've got only 50 people left." So if you ask me what kind of power I need more work power. I need more people. Or, and that was in that case, the really interesting, I said, or I cannot guarantee these responsibilities I guaranteed 5 years ago when I had more people. And we have to find a way and we have to find a balance. and that's it. Okay, and one aspect which is so important for me, I'd like to describe even as an example. If you talk that way and with that formula to people, people grow, and they still grow. Many times today, I'm confronted with leaders, so-called leaders, I would then call, that say they are all stupid, they are all idiots, and they will not take any responsibility. You cannot work with such blah blah. Okay, and I say, hey, stop. It's not fair to order responsibility. You have to build the people. The people have to learn, and they have to be able to fulfill this. And for an example, I had a really interesting project where a young lady sitting on the table and writing the meeting notes. I was 16 years old, and I realized, and there was a part of the project was building the homepage brand new from scratch. And she was so interesting and she was so enthusiastic. And I started and I asked her, what do you think about not only writing your notes, but writing the meeting notes? And from our next meeting, you ask all these guys sitting here on the table if they have fulfilled their task, and you give me the list with that. No, I cannot do that. No, I'm the youngest lady here. And I said, okay, let's start with that. And to make this beautiful story very short, after half a year, she handled that whole project. She grows up and she take not only the responsibility, and that is what I learned every time. Yes, it's one side to take the responsibility, but if you give the people the right amount of power with that, they grow, they expand, so and this is still possible because of a lot of my clients saying, yeah, but today these young guys, they are not longer good enough or something like that. I say that this is not the truth.
When you're doing this work in the companies, and when the members of the team see you coming, and they probably think you're the troubleshooter, is that a difficult situation for them to start opening up about the responsibility and the power that's needed? Is there a breakthrough that's required to get past the game playing, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I had situations where people in the companies told me that they will really they will kill me. they said to me, if you come one time more to our company, you will die. Believe me that.
That's very friendly.
Yeah, it was really, I'm nearly 2 meters high, but this guy was also high and much more impressive than me. And I said, okay, this is interesting. No, but to be honest, of course, there is you cannot build trust from scratch. It's not possible. And I came in. What kind of guy is that? Today I came with a shirt to the companies. 10 years ago, I always had a suit and tie, of course. I was a business consultant. Have you heard about that guy? You're a business consultant. Oh, our jobs and okay, that's true. But okay, I came back to that. I would say it's my first task to build trust. I have to do this every time again and again and again. But I must say my formula works also for that because again, I'm not the guy who's writing how many hours a day do you work? Oh, that's not enough. Can you work more? Or no, I come to you. And of course, everybody is telling, have you heard about the Nuhn? What he's asking? He's asking about responsibilities. Huh? What is it? Has he asked you also? Yeah. He asked me also about for what is this? And so it's a little bit of curiosity and stuff, and the process starts. And to be honest, in nearly every company, there are people who decide to go away during our common process. In my beginning of my career, I found it terrible. Today I say, okay, sorry, this is absolutely okay. This is quite normal. There are 150 people working together, and now there are 2 or 3 guys who say, hey, on that way, I will not longer work. So I have to live with that.
Yeah, in that situation, it's better for the person if it's not working for them and it's not working for the company. That's a stressful situation for everyone, isn't it?
Yes.
You're better moving on.
Yeah. And to be honest, I start at the very beginning. We come back to the beginning of my life. I only worked for companies who are owner possessed most of the time. And I'm a guy, and this is my personal meaning. This is not my approach. That's me. I think everyone who is taking his money into a company, making people work there, owns my respect. And I start with that. And yeah, I'm a little bit on the side of the owners. If I can see in the second step that he's taken this responsibility for his people. So, and I'm always on that. This is, of course, and I must say, I'm paid normally by the owners. Yeah, of course, but it works. And if I see that someone is really on an aggressive way, um, avoiding taking responsibility, this is also saying something for me. This tells me he's not willing to bring his potential into the team, yeah, into the work group, and I think this is not fair.
And on the subject of responsibility, in that situation, is it your responsibility to sort that out?
It's my responsibility to make this quite clear again, and this is why I can do something. Sometimes I can do things an older manager cannot do because of I'm brand new in the company in the situation, and I have no blue eyes, but I can come blue eyed and say, "Hey, what is your responsibility?" on a very neutral way, and I find out that, and of course, in many times, everybody has known which are these special people there who will not take. They are grinding when I come and say, when he comes to Mr. Miller, he will see what his questions will bring him. Everybody knows this normally. But again, I can make it clear, and I can make it, can I say that in English, discussable. You can put it now. You can. Before that, Mr. Miller was just a guy not like the others. Um, After my discussions, we have a tangible phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's becoming tangible, and we can have discussions. And
Yeah. And Mr. Miller sees it as clear as anyone.
yes, I'm sorry. Sometimes it's a kind of power I use. Of course, I have the power to bring you in that situation that you have to speak with me. Not always. Last week, I had to find a lawyer because of one Mr. Miller said, I will not have a discussion with you. I will not talk to you. No, no more. And no. I said, okay, if this is your decision. So it's not always fun. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. And your objective in that situation, what's success?
In our lunch club conversation, I think I told you that I had a conversation with a young guy who finished his education, and the owner was really panicking because of he could go to another company. He's this best guy, young and well educated, and we had this discussion. I said, "Hey." Of course, I asked him, "What do you see in the future? Your responsibilities? What kind of hope? Blah blah." But I said, "Hey, no, everything is fine. You could find." I have to translate it in English. You could work quite well here now. Everything is okay. Why should I go? And that was one of my biggest success moments, I must say, because in the face-to-face discussion, you can see that he's meaning
Yeah.
that he can feel that. Especially in that company, 3 years ago, we had really a terrible situation where everybody said to go to work in the morning is the worst thing I can imagine.
That's terrible. If you punch in 6 months, 1 week, 18 years, it doesn't matter. If you punch in any time, that's miserable. If you hate Mondays, that's what a waste of your life.
Yeah. It's not only, and then I'm a huge fan of the newly established thinking. Hey, this makes you sick. This is not good for the income of your company. You cannot have a wealthy company where such an atmosphere is going on. It's not possible.
You've spent a lot of time working with teams, Peter, and individuals within teams and trying to sort out problems. Are there bad eggs you just can't sort out? Are people deliberately bad eggs? Because sometimes, we're all faced with those situations and you're thinking, this can't be good for you either. Why are you turning up every day being a bad egg?
Yes. I can give you also a quite interesting example. It was a guy who made the education with the son of the owner, and they were best friends, and they start to work together in the company. And then the senior was dying, and the junior had become big boss from one day to another, and it hasn't worked. And okay, and he was a bad egg. The other guy, not the junior, he became a terrible pain in the ass. It was really it was really hard to have a normal conversation with that guy. It was okay, and after a short period of our work of my consulting, my coaching with the junior, I said, hey, let's go separate ways. Let's find a way out, and we go separate. And I said, yeah, he was a friend of mine for so many years, and I do not understand, and it breaks my heart. And then I said, yeah, but sometimes, and this is the lesson I learned. I told you I often speak about the system, and sometimes you come into a situation in one system where you become a bad egg. Point. And to come in that system out of this position and find a new place for you, new position, whatever, it's extremely hard. And sometimes it's so much easier to say, okay, I go into a new company in that case, in a new system. A lot of rules are different than the older companies, and I will find my new position, and that helps everybody. And that was a case. I said, I know he's really intelligent guy. He knows his work, etc., etc. But this is my subjective thing, my personal meaning. I think he had no found a position with a junior on a higher level as he was. They were always on the same level. Anyhow, and we had a friendly conversation, and at the end he find a new position, and it was indeed that he, after 3 or 2 months, both met, and everything was okay, and they said, hey, this was a lot of and we could have done it better. But so again, sometimes you have some bad eggs. First of all, I always would try to change the system, but we're in an economic environment. This is why I always say, "Hey, sorry, I found if I found a guy or I had or a woman, and I think this is not a work problem. This is a personal problem. This is a psychological problem. I always would say, please do me a favor and contact a doctor. Yeah, this is if we find any way, let's do this. My job is only the professional environment, and of course, I'm the first one to say we were people. But there's a borderline for me. I will not go over. I would say this is not my work.
Your territory, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, this is not my territory. And I know a lot of people. We talked about the networking. where I can send them and can say, please, you could help them. Again, and this is what I do with the bad eggs. I try my best to find a way to change the system, but if this is not working,
Yeah.
we will see what consequence this will have.
Yeah. Okay. You're on the Win Happy podcast, Peter.
Yep.
What's happiness to you?
If I'm sitting on my motorbike and the sun is shining and I have a beautiful route in front of me, I'm always happy. This is my personal style. What I learned. This is my flow event. This is a situation where I have to be concentrated, fully concentrated, to do what I do. To drive a motorbike is not the same as drive a car. Yeah, not even fast or something like that. It is more. It depends more of your brain or something. Anyhow, this is first of all, I can come very fast, completely to happiness and a smile on my face. And yeah, the next one is indeed if a guy says, why should I find another position? We can work quite well here now in this company again. Believe me, I was very, very happy for let's say 3 days. I had a huge smile on my face. I said, hey, this, and believe me, it was a hard project, hard work to do. There was a bad egg in that company. But to listen to that sentence from a guy makes me really
Yeah,
happy.
fantastic. Something I say to all of my guests that, happiness, you enjoy sitting on your motorbike and off you go. But you can't do that all day and all night either. No, maybe you'd like to.
Yeah.
And, in this funny world of ours, we have goalposts. I might like playing football, but you need goalposts to make that satisfying. So what is winning for you, both now and into the future? What does winning look like?
Interesting. I had found out that, yeah, in parallel to my personal situation, winning is normally I set a goal for me and I reach that goal. That is winning. I said that in that way because of I'm not a team guy. Because of I have not longer. I had many years ago a company with people working for me, but yeah, it's depending on me. It's depending on me.
Okay.
Success.
Yeah, and so you set your own goals and you get satisfaction from them. Yeah, that's cool. I've got one big question for you. One left.
Okay.
What was your best day ever, Peter?
I can tell you that story. I was 25 years old and I had started a little bit of my career. I was simultaneously studying at the university, but I had a training for women coming back after their baby break. Can I say that?
Yeah.
To business? And I was engaged as a trainer for the economical stuff to teach them a little bit about accounting and stuff like that. And we had these 6 weeks together, not complete, but some lessons together. And we finished that course. Okay. And at the end of the course, we had the typical coffee, cake, and every one of them brought me a rose to my desk and said, this course was really fantastic. We had a lot of fun and we learned so much from you. And I must say, this is the best day in my life until now.
Yeah. I'm thinking that Mr. Miller didn't bring you a rose, did he?
Yes.
Peter, thank you so much. It's been really interesting. I love that approach that you bring to the workplace, that balance between responsibility and power and getting that right. And doing your best to sort out the people who are on your side and who may be not on your side at that point in time, having done that. And doing the hard stuff, I guess. You need to do the hard stuff and wave goodbye or encourage someone else to wave goodbye if that's required. We spend a lot of our life working. So it really is important that we're happy in the workplace. Peter, thank you so much for coming on the Win Happy podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good man. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.